Welcome to the Teach Jim Show, the place to teach, to learn, to grow.
So that's what we are. It's a mix of tactical skills. You know, taking the radio show, putting it on is one idea, leveraging your time forward. But this whole idea of leveraging the technologies, for example, we take pictures of our whiteboard and we take it over to the computer, and we then use the computer there to leverage these forward. So you see we've got pictures of some of the kinds of things, the notes that we've taken, and then we show that into, make it into the whiteboard. The whiteboard becomes our communication tool. Then we take snapshots of the actual whiteboard itself, and we leverage those into the videos as you're watching and seeing now. And so the idea that we have so much and so many different ways to communicate is very meaningful. And that's kind of where we go next, is how do you produce this stuff? How do you nail this down? How do you put together a production process that works not only for you but for others? How do you get past those pain points, you see? And so that's what we're going to show you how to do next. Is we're going to walk through some of the production steps that we took here. And those will be they'll be on profitableproducers.com. You can go to the bottom down there, and you'll see this little video segment that continues on. So you get the rest of the picture, because this video had to cut off in terms of the contest and things that we were entering into. So with that, let's go down what we did for the production process here. When you produce a product, you want to have kind of a way that you're able to brand yourself and stay with that branding. You want to kind of be different enough and unique enough that it's you. I had tried, as many have, some of the methods that we see out on the web. For me, the most meaningful way I can do this is to put up a visual. Mind mapping is what we're talking about here. I love mind mapping. I use it constantly, all the time. I do it in paper. I do it in pen. I do it in software programs. I keep a book, and this is one of those daily methods of operation, where I keep my brains, my thoughts, if you will, and I'm writing constantly in here the ideas that are coming forward. So you can see the ideas that we have written here, and you'll have some pictures of this up on the video here as you see it. But write down the ideas. Now that's where the thinking came to after looking at the original list. And so the notes that you took, and you learned something from a guru. You observe what they're doing. You also observe what they're not doing. And then you generalize to the hints that they drop. You know, oh, it's not too bad, it's pretty easy. That means for them right now it's not too hard, it's pretty easy. But when you go back to when they started, they might have struggled. They might have stood in front of the camera time and time and time again. And it's that kind of struggling that all of us go through. It's part of a pain process. But most of them say it's an easy out that we want. We want to fix you an easy solution. Now, you do it step by step. Remember, you don't think with a step by step. Step by step keeps you dependent. So you want to break out of that. You want to generalize into your larger thinking. So what do we do here? We took these 9 ideas. We thought about them. We considered what they were and what the steps would be for them, put them into the marketing plan that we already have in place, and recognize that place has 2 meanings. This used to be the place that we did our promotions. That's what originally was thought of. But we adjusted our thinking to know that place really is a context. Where do we sit in the world today? What's going on out there? Are we in sync or out of sync? Is the fishing pond that we're fishing in, that we're taught to fish in, is it still there? Is it drying up? Is it flooding? Is there something going wrong in the environment that's changing the way our jobs are? This good education, good job thing worked really well when the jobs were stable 30, 40, 60 years. But they changed. The whole environment's changing so quickly that this becomes a problem. It becomes part of the layoff and lack of money, changing world, so that's where the learning comes in. The real problem we face online is learning. So taking somebody's suggestions, a guru, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, and see what they're saying, mesh them together, and pull out the best pieces that apply to you and the direction your business is going. You don't jeopardize your freedom. You don't jeopardize your independence. If we can have a think tank or lots of people working together in a working mastermind, not just a thinking, talking mastermind, but one that actually just get their hands dirty and working together, if we could do that, what would happen? Well, the mind map then becomes a reality. Dependence to independence, possible. We work ourselves through each of these. We go down this promotion road. We learn how to promote better together. We have a better tie to our audience. So the kind of learning that we've done here, we did some chunking, put the chunking together. We did some what I call tracing. Tracing is taking a leader's thoughts and going right over top of those. Put your pattern of work right over the top of it. Maybe do it a few times exactly like they teach, step by step. Nothing wrong with that. Keep in mind that the step-by-step that you go through is intended to step next out of that dependence into and towards your own independence. So tracing is something we did. We double jumped. What does jump mean? It means when an opportunity presents itself, even though it may not fit in your time frame, sometimes you just have to jump. You pull the trigger, you go for it. And then in that jumping, there's also some analysis. See, you don't take just what's being said, but you do the analysis and the generalizations to those things that might be just on the outside edges of what was said. Maybe you make the connections. For example, in the production of a product that Brandon Pritchard's going through right now in his processes, I also listened to Mike Guning's presentation on product creation. I'm aware of a couple other gurus that right now have products rolling out that are in the product creation arena. You take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gurus and you lay them together, and then you say, okay, what are the patterns? What are the things that are persistent? What are the techniques, the tactics, the strategies? How do they position themselves? How do they learn together? And that'll all be in that How to Learn Like a Guru. Those interviews will be there. The gurus will be revealing how they learned what they know. That's huge. And so that's what you want to kind of look for, because as it comes out, it's going to be amazing how learning like a guru really does relate to how you and I can transition from our formal education to our informal learning in the world around us. So the idea of tracing, the idea of chunking, the idea of analysis. Now see, once you analyze all these people's stuff and you get out there and you line down those key factors that they talk about, then you synthesize it back down to something that's meaningful. Now, not just something that's meaningful in terms of the learning, but something that's meaningful to you as you apply it in your life. So, for example, Brandon Pritchard talks about live, love. I live. Have I lived? Have I loved? Have I made a difference? Those are the 3 words that he goes off of all the time. Well, if you read back in Stephen Covey's book, he talks about, guess what? He says, well, some of the basic human needs that we have are live, survival, physical living, love, relationships, emotional, social relationships, learn, education, mental brain stuff, and leave a legacy. How am I spiritually going to be around for years? Those are the 4 main areas of our human nature. And so he has live, love, learn, and leave a legacy. Guess what? What Brendan's teaching isn't that far off of what Stephen Covey taught. But Stephen Covey laid it out there one way. Brendan's taken it a different way and applied it in a different way. You start to see that gurus learn from mentors, from instructors, from multiple places, always applying their own research, and then they pull back, and then they apply to their situation. They apply and implement fully. So this learning by doing becomes a huge part of what we have in place here. Learning by doing is one of those key elements that takes place in going forward. So how can you learn? What can you do to leverage the learning of leaders into solutions that are masterful for you? You can take on this idea of self-directed learning. You can understand what your primary purpose is. You can know where you are in terms of dependence, where are your hang-ups. Can you prune everything away? Can you take all the worlds of information from the internet, decide on one strategy, cut away all the stuff you don't need, and prune it? Just cut it off. Boom, I'm done. I don't need that stuff anymore. And focus all your attention in a single direction. That's a learning strategy. I like to call it pruning because you've taken everything first, then you find out what's not relevant, you cut it off, you get rid of it. Then you nail down to the topic that's most prudent to the trends that are going on, to the place you live, to what you see being done in others, and then you apply it, and you learn by doing. Now, that's hard to do. It's hard to make that transition, and that's where Profitable Producers comes in, because we have a whole group of people that work together in kind of a regular pattern. Some accountability partners come into play, some instruction, some teaching and learning, some sharing experiences, sharing where I'm stuck, and helping to learn past that stuck. If somebody gets stuck in a particular place, well, there's always other resources. Maybe there's somebody that comes to the table having just finished a course on that. Somebody else that has a course they're not using, they can pass it on. you start to see where Profitable Producers becomes a collaborative place for us to learn and grow. And then as we do, we can leverage that learning into the profits we personally create. Or better yet, because of our collaborative skills, we can produce products together. And those products coming together is a way to move forward. I'm Teach Jim, and I want you to know that this is an exciting time. And I hope that you'll come by the Teach Jim show. Go to teachjim.com, make an appointment there, and you can come on the show too. You can share what you know, share some of your pain points, share kind of what the people are that you want to work with and how you want to help them, what your primary purpose is. And so you can take some of the learning of leaders and leverage it into your own personal growth and success. I'm Teach Jim, and I'd love to have you be a part of that process. Thank you.